Imagine you are sitting at your desk watching a computer program quietly handle a task that used to take you an entire week. It feels incredible, like you have just been handed an absolute superpower. But then a quiet chilling thought hits you. What happens if that code makes a massive, permanent mistake? What if denies a hardworking family a critical bank loan, wrongly labels an innocent citizen as a security threat, or quietly eliminates your entire department just to save a corporation a few dollars? See, this is not a futuristic science fiction movie anymore. It is the exact reality we are waking up to. And that's precisely why the world is suddenly racing to build an invisible shield known as AI governance and regulation. Now, if you look at the formal definition, this concept refers to the entire framework of policies, ethical guidelines, and legal processes designed to guide the responsible development, deployment, and the management of artificial intelligence. Its primary ultimate goal is to ensure that these advanced technologies operate transparently, fairly, and securely, without infringing on basic human rights or creating systematic social risk. But how do you actually regulate a piece of code that learns, adapts, and changes every single day? How do you put boundaries around software that feels like it has a mind of its own? See, for a long time, the global approach to this problem was incredibly loose and abstract. But today, governments and massive international organizations are rapidly transitioning from abstract ethical principles straight into binding legal structures. They are realizing that the ascendancy of artificial intelligence is causing a real attrition of controversial jobs at all levels and across almost every sector. It is becoming central to our most critical tasks and systems, which means the urgent need to control it is skyrocketing. And at the state level, this regulation has to be based on actual legal or administrative instruments backed by the full power of law. In fact, international bodies have been studying this relationship between law and governance extensively. The United Nations Educational, Scientific and Cultural Organization published a major consultation paper highlighting 9 distinct approaches available to states for regulation. But before a state can even choose a model from that menu, they have to answer a cardinal, incredibly difficult questions. What exactly do you regulate? Some experts, like Professor Richard Susskind of the University of Oxford, argued that defining AI is a double-edged sword. In his book, he explained that you can either describe how it works at a technical level or describe what it can actually do through its specific use cases. Based on this practical use case thinking, international frameworks generally focus on regulating 3 critical areas. First, there is the entire AI system lifecycle, which stretches all the way from planning and testing to monitoring and eventually retiring a system. Second, you have to look at the massive AI supply chain, which includes everything from the raw extraction of non-renewable resources and manufacturing computer chips to web activities and handling toxic e-waste. And third, regulators are intensively focusing on automated decision making, which is the technology that either assists or completely replaces human judgment in critical moments. The global race to codify these rules is moving at a breakneck pace. If you look at the recent legislative records, the landscape is absolutely rife with sudden developments. Data shows that out of over 100 countries tracked globally, dozens have already enacted hundreds of different laws explicitly related to managing this technology. The United States has enacted 27 laws, Russia has passed 20, the United Kingdom has 10, France has 9, and China has passed 4. In the US alone, hundreds of bills have been rapidly proposed, with the state of California leading the domestic charge by enacting 22 laws all on its own. Now, if you look closely at these leading global paradigms, almost all of them revolve tightly around the concept of risk management. But the way different superpowers execute this strategy is completely polarized. Take a look at the European Union AI Act. This is the world's very first comprehensive binding legal framework for artificial intelligence. The Europeans use a strict tiered risk-based approach. If an AI system falls into a minimal risk category, it faces no heavy regulation. But if a system crosses the line into what they call unacceptable risk, it is completely and outright banned. We are talking about technologies like real-time biometric surveillance in public spaces or a state-run social scrolling system that grade citizens or their behavior. Anything labeled as a high-risk system must undergo a rigorous technical confirmatory assessment before it is legally allowed to step foot into the commercial market. But then, you flip the script and look at the United States. Instead of passing sweeping mandatory laws that threaten to penalize tech companies, the US has heavily relied on voluntary frameworks like the one designed by the National Institute of Standards and Technology. Their risk management framework is purposely built to promote a pro-innovative, trustworthy environment. They offer standardized assessment tools rather than ironclad restrictions, preferring to let the market breathe while encouraging safety protocols. So, where does a developing country like Pakistan stand in this global high-tech chess match? How does a nation balance the desperate need for modernization with the terrifying risk of an unregulated digital frontier? It is a massive, incredibly delicate tightrope walk, and Pakistan's response has taken a very surprising, highly ambitious turn. But we will get to the real-world economic consequences and the vulnerabilities in just a moment. First, we need to uncover the exact strategy that government has quietly built to survive this revolution. See, recognizing the urgent need to balance technological growth with regulatory safeguards, Pakistan's Ministry of Information Technology and Telecommunication stepped forward. They developed a comprehensive framework known as the National Artificial Intelligence Policy, achieving major legislative milestones through 2025. The state also rolled out its National Artificial Intelligence Strategy to serve as a key governance document. This entire policy explicitly links AI adoption directly to the broader overarching vision of a digital Pakistan, focusing heavily on market enablement, building public awareness, and forcing a rapid sectoral transformation. To actually execute this dream, the policy is anchored by four massive structural pillars. First, they created the National AI Fund, which operates as a perpetual financing vehicle. Who is it funded? By broadly redirecting at least 30% of the existing National ICT Research and Development Fund straight into AI research, startup incubation, and commercialization. Second, they are building a geographically distributed network of innovation hubs called Centers of Excellence in AI across major hubs like Islamabad, Karachi, and Lahore, operating as a public-private partnerships. Third, they have laid down an incredibly aggressive target for human capital development, aiming to train 1 million AI learners and 10,000 master trainers by 2027 to permanently crush the country's tech talent deficit. And fourth is, they created an AI regulatory directorate, but instead of copying the European model and imposing sweeping, restrictive laws that could easily strangle early-stage innovations, Pakistan's policy set up control environments known as sectoral sandboxes, where local businesses can securely test their products before launching them at full scale. To steer this entire ship, they have established a dedicated AI council headed directly by the Federal Minister for Information Technology, bringing provincial structures together to facilitate growth. This light-touch approach sounds brilliant on paper, does it not? But the actual rollout of this structured governance framework has created a dramatic, dualistic impact across the country. It is acting as a massive catalyst for economic modernization, while simultaneously opening up dangerous systematic vulnerabilities that regulators are now violently scrambling to manage. Look at the financial sector. The most immediate, undeniable economic effects are being felt right now in the fintech world. AI systems have drastically improved operational efficiency, automated fraud detection, and driven alternative database credit scoring that is finally helping unbanked populations secure loans for the first time. Regulators are even actively exploring how to integrate artificial intelligence with blockchain technology to completely streamline the country's tax administration and boost revenue generation. But beneath this dazzling success story lies a massive, terrifying governance gap. The sheer pace of private sector AI innovation is moving so fast that it is completely outstripping the regulatory capabilities of the State Bank of Pakistan and the Securities and Exchange Commission of Pakistan. These institutions are openly struggling to handle novel, unprecedented risks like deep algorithms bias, total model opacity where no one knows how the machine made a decision, and advanced digital identity fraud. And it gets worse when you look at national security. As Pakistan heavily digitalizes its public infrastructure, e-government operations, and massive cloud systems, it is slamming directly into a highly fragmented cybersecurity landscape. Current assessments deliver a harsh verdict that country's digital security posture has severely struggled to keep pace with the advanced hostile threat environment brought on by AI. Rogue actors are now using automated attacks and hyper-realistic deepfakes to manipulate public opinion and penetrate secure systems, strengthening a national cyber resilience, and finally enacting comprehensive data protection legislation have been the primary most critical hurdles that government is currently working to resolve. Because artificial intelligence is a dual-use technology, there is also an intense strategic push to ensure that this national policy explicitly covers the defense manufacturing sector. Applications in military robotics, autonomous reconnaissance, drones, and AI-driven battle logistics are now viewed as absolutely critical investment to maintain regional deterrence and protect national security. This means the civilian framework must carefully and seamlessly overlap with high-stakes military technology integrations. But perhaps the most heartbreaking hurdle in this entire journey is the persistent digital divide. In noble sectors like healthcare and education, AI-driven solutions are being rapidly incubated by academic bodies like the National Center of Artificial Intelligence, which has successfully launched dozens of spin-offs. But when you try to actually deploy these life-saving technologies into rural Pakistan, the system hits a brick wall. The implementation is heavily bottlenecked by unstable electricity networks, low smartphone affordability, and a severe lack of role-specific training for rural healthcare workers on critical data privacy workflows. In the end, the story of AI governance is not just about writing code or managing corporate risk management frameworks. It is a story about control, state capacity, and the preservation of human dignity. Laboratories and tech setups will continue to build the future of intelligence at terrifying speed. But as the rules of the global digital sandbox are completely rewritten, the ultimate question is not how fast the machines can think. It is whether our laws, our institutions, and our moral courage can evolve fast enough to keep them under human control. The sandboxes are open, the policy milestones are set, and the future of our economic and national security hangs entirely in the balance.